Hi, my name is Andrea. I'm chairwoman of the board of Solar Powers e.V., and we are in Berlin, Germany. We're going to be talking about organizing working groups within student initiatives, and specifically about this initiative called Solar Powers, which is a non-profit organization. The initiator of this group, this organization, were a couple of students who thought our university has a lot of unused rooftops. Why don't we do something about it? And so they went to a professor that was also supporting the renewable energy initiatives, and then we started to do like an analysis of different rooftops at the university. And these students then continued the project and offered this as a lecture, actually, or as a seminar for students that want to do something more practical, and that's how it started. At the beginning, we were about 20 students. One group was working on, for example, the technical aspects of what the use of this rooftop could be. Then another group was working on legal issues, how, if we implement this PV system, how can we do it legally, and what do we need? Because, as students, we're not just allowed to do whatever we want at any building at the university. You need permission and so on. And then another group was working on the crowdfunding campaign and all the financing of the system. And then another group was working on social media and knowledge, information, all these topics. So we started within the seminar, and the result of the seminar was a kind of strategy, and we realized, okay, we need to start our own organization, otherwise we cannot implement the project, because for example, for cooperating with companies, for finding money and so on, you need to be a legal entity. And so after the seminar, we decided to continue on this on our own, and the group reduced to about 10 people, and it has maintained in that way. There were actually several problems. One problem was that we had the permission, for example, to use this rooftop, but it was unclear under which requirements, or if we needed a contract with the university or not. So it was a very long process where we needed a lot of time to, for example, see, okay, what kind of contract do we need? We needed to talk with a lot of people in the university that are in charge of these things, and also when trying to find money, we had to also wait till our bank account is established, and for that we also had to wait till we are a registered organization. And so it's a long process, of course, to establish your own non-profit organization, also because for example, the institutions, financial institutions, have to prove that they need to prove that you're a non-profit organization first, and with that you go to the bank, and then you can have your own bank account and then receive money from other companies or for people that just want to contribute to the project. And that's how, just like step by step, we had to find solutions to each problem. And then on the legal aspect as well, we had to figure out, okay, do we need to pay to the university in order to use this space or not? But it was just those were things that we just needed to discuss with the president of the university, for example, or with the people in charge of all this, like, buildings and energy management. And that's how we pretty much solve them. And then when it came to financing, I think we were just patient enough to wait a couple of years in order to raise all the money, because that was probably the biggest issue, that we just needed the money first in order to implement the project. And yeah, it took some time, but then we finally did it. And after that, there were actually no problems at all. The implementation was quite easy. I mean, easy, not super easy, of course, but there were no big issues. We had also the support of other people and a collective of engineers that did all the leading and showed us around. Okay, how we can implement this, how can we mount the PV modules, and so on. Yeah, so the working groups were actually only during the seminar, so when we were trying to figure out how to implement this project. But after that, the group, I mean, we were just 10 people, so we supported each other in every task. And there were like some, for example, that were responsible for certain things. Like for the technical aspects, we had one responsible for doing all the paperwork for the PV system, because you have to register it and so on. And then in our organization, we also have one responsible for finances, so you have to declare everything, right? You have to usually you would pay taxes, but as we're a non-profit, we don't really pay taxes, but you still have to declare what you earn and so on. And then we also have a working group that is working on social media, and we have another working group that organizes the redistribution of what we earn, because what we do is that each year we receive money for the electricity that we injected that we feed in the grid, and so we don't keep the money ourselves, but we use it to fund other initiatives, student initiatives. And so each year we make this announcement, and then there's like an opening for proposals, and then we have to this group has to take a look at the proposals, find like a jury, some external jury members, and then see which project can we help or finance. The PV plant is about 30 kilowatt peak, and so it consists of like 120 PV modules, as you can see here. And we built it actually around this time in November in 2017. We don't have an exact number of how much it costs, because the mounting system was funded by a company, so they just gave us the whole mounting system, but its value was at that time worth around 10,000 euros, and in total we estimate around 50,000 euros for everything. I mean, it include all the components. Planning, I mean, not so much, because we didn't pay any engineers, we planned it ourselves, but then the planning of the whole mounting, the implementation, yes, because we received support of this collective of engineers, and we pay them a bit for that. And the mounting itself, the implementation, we did it ourselves with their help. So we didn't pay ourselves, but it was therefore a bit cheaper. Yeah. So to organize the implementation of a PV system, it takes more or less 6 months, maybe. It depends on the capacities of the people, and if the money is already there or not. In our case, all in all, it took about 2 years. Yeah, 2.5 years actually. So it was half a year planning, and then 2 years to find the money, and then the last half year, maybe, or 3 months, we spent also time, because we had to order all the components and plan the implementation. Yeah. As of today, we are still taking care of this PV system, Our organization is doing also the maintaining, so we come up every half a year or every year to check everything, and then declare the feed-ins and so on. I'm an industrial engineer, and through this project I kind of got more into renewable energies, and it helped me. I mean, I learned a lot. It helped me to concentrate or to find a focus on my career. And now I'm working mainly with renewable energy and energy efficiency. Now our organization is trying to continue the work to still put some pressure on the university so that they take initiative and build also their own PV plants. And because we are all not students anymore, it's a bit harder to take things into action because we don't have as much time as we used to as students. We're still trying to do something about it and to continue to promote the topic in general of solar energy and its use in unused rooftops of universities, in public buildings in general. I would encourage every student to take action, and not just students. I think anybody can take action. As we did, we just learned by doing. None of us really had specific knowledge on renewable energy or solar energy. Reach out to also maybe contact other initiatives that have been doing similar projects, because it's always also very important to learn from maybe the failures or the mistakes of others. And there's a lot of information open source when it comes to renewable energy. So you just have to maybe take some time to do research and find some people to connect with, to guide you maybe a bit, and then just go for it.